If he wins New York, then he only needs... This week is the election that decides the future. President Lincoln's 1860 victory started a chain reaction that split this nation apart. An 1864 defeat will cement that split. This war will not be decided on the battlefield, but the ballot box. Election night. We are expecting an early wave of McClellan votes that will later be beaten by the votes of soldiers in the field. The main focus will be on Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, a combined 80 electoral votes. While it's 118 to win, it would be harder to garner enough votes without these. Lincoln can count on New England, and we can call some states. Louisiana and Tennessee go to Lincoln, but these are going to be invalidated. Results are coming in. Massachusetts with only 10% of the vote. We can call for Lincoln. And Vermont and Maine. And that's it. As of right now, Connecticut and New Hampshire are too close to call. Rhode Island, Lincoln, but moving down to Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey are too close to call. Wait. We're receiving a telegraph from the West. Nevada and California go to Lincoln. But Oregon is still neck and neck. Kentucky really went for the Democrats, Womack winning 70%. Right now, it's 37-11. Despite it being close, New Jersey goes Jacksonian fully. Last time it split its votes 4 Republicans, 3 Democrats, as does Delaware. Lincoln is underperforming it in Pennsylvania and New York, but overperforming in Ohio. Kansas, Lincoln, yeah! More of New York is coming in. It's not looking great. More Pennsylvania goes Democrat. It looks like Lincoln might lose. He needs a boost of support. He needs Missouri, yes! Though it went against him last time, with 70% he wins. It begins a domino effect. Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana back the administration, as does the rest of New England. That leaves Maryland, Illinois, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania coming full circle. The state that in 1858 rejected Lincoln secures his victory. Illinois, the land of Lincoln. The remaining have come in for Lincoln. Gains are made in the House and the Senate, losing New Jersey but gaining Oregon, Illinois, and West Virginia. And with the emergence of Nevada, the Republicans can expect an even greater majority. It's beautiful. I could cry. The 10th, President Lincoln gives a speech, publicly responding to his re-election. He himself says it's not very graceful, and I agree.
It has long been a grave question whether any government, not too strong for the liberties of its people, can be strong enough to maintain its own existence in great emergencies. We cannot have free government without elections, and if the rebellion could force us to forego or postpone a national election, it might fairly claim to have already conquered and ruined us.
The cabinet meets, and Lincoln opens the blind ballot, allowing for the cabinet to see what they signed back in August. Election day comes and goes. There's no mass uprising to make McClellan king. Before the election in Chicago, 100 Copperheads were arrested and sent to Camp Douglas. During the investigation, many are found armed, and when searching one of the ringleaders' houses, they find an armory. On the topic of politics, going back to the 7th, President Davis opens the Second Confederate Congress. The speech is pretty standard, downplays losses on the field, calls for some of his preferred policies, but just towards the middle, he drops a bombshell.
The policy of engaging to liberate the Negro on his discharge after service faithfully rendered seems to me preferable to that of granting immediate manumission, or that of retaining him in servitude.
Now, this isn't an endorsement of said policy, nor is it combat. He is referring to engineers, laborers, cooks. But still, the Confederacy arming slaves with emancipation after service, it instantly receives backlash. But with manpower low, what choice does the rebellion have? Davis leads the Congress, conclude with a willingness to negotiate, but only with independence. An independence that is becoming increasingly unlikely. He telegrams General Hood, telling him to
first, beat him in detail, and subsequently, without serious obstruction or danger to the country in your rear, advance to the Ohio River.
Davis wants Hood to beat Sherman in advance to Kentucky. Obviously, this isn't going to happen, and Davis probably knows this. On the topic of Sherman, the 9th, he sends out a preliminary order to his men. There's the usual items regarding commands, road, leadership, but in between the minutiae is something radical.
There will be no general train of supplies. The Army will forage liberally on the country during the march. To Army Corps commanders alone is entrusted the power to destroy mills, houses, cotton gins, etc. Army commanders should order and enforce a devastation more or less relentless according to the measure of such hostility. As for horses, mules, wagons, etc., belonging to the inhabitants, the cavalry and artillery may appropriate freely and without limit, discriminating, however, between the rich, who are usually hostile, and the poor or industrious, usually neutral or friendly. Foraging parties may also take mules or horses to replace the jaded animals of their trains, or to serve as pack mules for the regiments of brigades. Negroes who are able-bodied and can be of service to the several columns may be taken along.
Now this is cherry-picked by me. Sherman includes limitations of what can be taken, from who, regulations on when foraging can happen. I include these portions not to incriminate the man, but to speculate. What kind of campaign will this be? A risky one. Normally without supply trains is a quick one, but only days away from starvation. On the 11th, the march begins. Rome, Georgia's mills, foundries, bridges, roads, everything of use is burnt down. Atlanta loses many of its rail lines, and Racetica tracks leading towards Chattanooga are torn up. Sherman will ensure the state of Georgia is nothing more than a barren wasteland for any would-be rebel recapture. As Sherman moves away from Hood, leaving Thomas to deal with him, General Breckinridge moves towards Tennessee. The 11th, his forces repulsed at Bull's Gap. I don't know where it is either. It really is a sign of how weak the Confederate Army is. Lieutenant General Jubal Early tries to oppose Sheridan, and this fails, making no impact. Going back to the 6th, General Price fights a skirmish at Cane Hill, Arkansas, falling back even further south. Sickles' time. While he made a grand speech on the 5th, I instead wish to focus on the celebration at Astor House. Sickles, disappointed by the ever-silent General Grant, makes an appearance to speak for him. If any man can afford to be silent, it is General Grant. His deeds speak for him. Deeds more eloquent than the words of any orator. That's where the week ends with electoral victory. Lincoln won 55% of the vote, 22 states, and his party holds 100% of the power needed for victory. But what about freedom? Will there be a 13th Amendment to end slavery? Will Lincoln not just hold together this nation, make it one that lives up to its ideals? Hi, it's the Tires of the Week Billy Team here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know the election presentation was weird. I didn't really know what to do with it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope to see you next week.